So here I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do the beautiful butterfly pop forward design, but also a few little hints and tips of how to get the best from the dies in this collection. Now, I'm working on a 6x6 card base, so it's 6 inches square or 15 centimetres if you prefer to work metric or imperial. What you've got the choice of here, as you can see in this one, we've got a beautiful stamp design popping forward. You can either have a stamp design or you can use the dies that come in the kit to die cut into the design. And as I said, I'm working on a 6x6 card, but this would work equally as well on a much smaller card base. All you do is literally cut your card. Say you wanted a 4-inch card, I would just cut the card to 4 by 6 inches in this case. Now, if I show you the basic design, how it works to cut, you always need 2 pieces of card. You need one for the outer card and then one that we're going to cut the inner design into as well. Now, I'm going to do it just on a plainer sheet so that you can see, but my recommendation would be, if possible, it's really ideal to use a much lighter weight card for the inside. It doesn't need to be as strong. It just needs to be something that we can fold really easily, so you can see more than strong enough to hold the tabs and the pop forward piece that we've got. So you just do want something that's not too thick. So if I put that to one side, what you'll notice is I've got my first card cut to 6x12 so that it folds into the 6x6 base card. My other one I've cut to 6x12, but I haven't actually folded it. I've just marked a pencil line in the middle where we're going to cut the design into, and that's because the actual design itself, the actual pop out design, you don't want to be cutting into the fold line. Now if I turn the die over, you will see on the die there is this small section where you've got 2 little indentations. Now it works in exactly the same way as all of our pop out dies like this. So where those little 2 indentations are, they are going to line up perfectly with what will be the centre score line. So again, this is why we're not scoring it, we're just making that pencil mark. And the best thing you can do is literally just to put a little piece of very, very low tack tape, hold the design in place while we run it through the cutter. Now, I'm cutting it with a Gemini. These do work in all your different brands of machines. And if you are using the Gemini, I like to cut face down so I can see what I'm cutting into the base cutting plate. Then you're going to want your clear plastic shim and your magnetic, and then we use the other cutting plate on the top. And that's the perfect sandwich for cutting any of our thin metal dies, not only the dimensionals. Now that will have cut the base design into there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this tape off and show you exactly what that looks like before I show you essentially a few options of what you've got to do next, okay? So when we lift this off, you can see that's the base butterfly design. These little tabs at the top here literally are going to fold up, which is what pops that butterfly forward. And then what you need to do is essentially we're folding the bottom bit up here, and then we're just going to get a scoring board and score along the sides here, and that will put the crease line exactly where we need it. So I'm just going to score at the halfway point where those pencil marks are, but only on the outside of the butterfly and on that tiny little bit in the middle there as well. So that when we fold that now, you can see it, all of the fold literally fell into place. So you can see how the top fold lines come in and the base crease lines, and it's really important to get those crease lines in exactly the right place, otherwise your card won't stand forward. Now, it's at this point where you get the options. So what you can do is, you can either, if you look at the one we're working towards, I've stamped the image with the coordinating stamps and put the stamped image on. But what you have got is 2 different butterfly designs, which you could also die cut. So I do just want to show you how you would die cut these. Now, these are designed to be exactly the right size to fit inside this die. So whereas I just did the original cut there, you can see you could line one of these up and cut it inside at the same time. Or if you don't want to do it at the same time, let me show you how we'd go back and do that afterwards. So I can see where my cutting mark is there. I'm going to cut my butterfly, cut the detail into the wings in just exactly the same place that we cut the base outer die. So again, I'm holding that in place with a little bit of tape. If you find that the die doesn't cut the first time round, you might want to add your metal shim in. But I think something this intricate, it's not too intricate, so it should cut no problem. Then remember, as with all of our dies, they're all cut and emboss. So it's nice at this stage, you can see all that cuttings come out beautifully. Let's add the embossing mat in so that we emboss into those crease lines too. And when you add the embossing mat, you must always take out the magnetic. You shouldn't have both black mats in at once. And then if we send that through again, this time it'll give you a lovely embossed detail on the butterfly. Now, all of these designs as well, you can also stencil through, so you could get one of your ink pads and stencil through the embossing design. That would give even more detail again. But I just want you to see how that cutting detail is going to look. So make sure you do always use tape, because what you don't want to do is accidentally have the die move midway through cutting. But also you want to, so that we can see we've got all the excess left in there. But you want to be careful. So when I've removed the tape there, I have removed a little bit of the surface of my design, but not so bad that you can't see how that's looking, okay? So if you can see there, there's that butterfly design, and then look how different it looks when it's got all of that beautiful cut out detail. And of course that is going to sit inside your base outer card. It looks quite nice with a contrasting colour behind, in this case the white. And of course that will fold perfectly flat to go in the envelope, or when it opens up you'll have the pop forward. Now what I have done is I've done one of those without the cutting detail onto a patterned card. So I left the plainer card for you to be able to see, but when I've done it on the patterned card, that's because I'm actually going to use the stamp detail. So I've done one here where I've just stamped it, and then I've actually done a version where I've stamped and coloured it in. So just coloured it in using some of our sparkle pens, and then cut that design out. And of course you can use your die to die cut around the outside, and that will line up perfectly with the butterfly we've got here. So like I said, you've got the choice of either the stamp designs or the die cut design on the inside. Then once we get to this stage, we just need to stick this inside the card. And I always recommend using a wet glue. I'm using the Collall All-Purpose here. But if you use a wet glue like this, you've got that little bit of manoeuvrability time, because inevitably you're never going to get it quite in exactly the right spot the first time you do it. So I'll just make sure I get a little bit of glue on that tiny bit in the centre too. So this will all manoeuvre perfectly into place, and then also that little bit's going to stick inside there. And I've just got some extra little pieces of glue that I don't want here that we can just remove with the pokey tool. So while that glue is just having a little bit of time to dry, I will show you something else that we can do with the designs on the front. Okay, so for the front of my card, if I bring the finished card back in, you'll see what I've got. I've got that same butterfly, but this time just with the wings lifting up. Now that's because if I show you exactly what comes included in with the kit, let's just clean that die out. That's the best way to do it. If you just want to pop all the pieces, I've just released them a little bit by tapping them with the design, not the cutting edge, down, and then that just releases them ready to pop them out. Okay. Now, obviously you saw that that die fit perfectly inside the cutout panel that does your fancy cutting in the centre. But also what you have is, you have the two outside wing cutting edges. So if you just wanted to cut the wings, you could use just the wing cut edges, and it would leave the centre part of the butterfly intact and the two wings lifting up. So let me show you that. Because it's only a small design now, I'm going to cut this in the smaller plates. So this will go through the Gemini in just the same way, but we're going to just use the smaller ones. So this will fit face down, and then each of those wings just goes around the outside of the butterfly. Can you see how they clip into place? And if you look very carefully in the centre, you'll see they don't actually connect at all in the centre. They just clip into place They sit there nicely, and that's going to leave the center part of the butterfly perfectly intact. And it is the same no matter which of the butterflies you use, because remember, you've got 2 different butterfly designs in the kit. Okay. Now what you do need to make sure is that those dies don't cross each other at any point. So I'm going to hold them in place again with a little bit of that tape, and I'm going to put a secondary piece of the tape just down the bottom, because if the dies cross over in the machine, it will ruin your dies, and then there's no coming back from it. Once it's done that, you can't reverse the damage that you've got. So we're cutting into the cutting plate. We're then going to have the clear plastic shim. You then want your magnetic shim, and then finally on the top you want your other cutting shim. And then because we're using the half size plates, they'll still fit in the Gemini, but you're just going to pop them in sideways. And then just like we did before, if you want to pass them through another time to emboss, you can. But to be honest, especially if you're working with a Gemini, there's quite a lot of pressure in there. So you'll find that there's enough to emboss the die on the first pass through that you do your die cut anyway. So there's the die cut design. If you look at this one here, all I've done is stuck this onto a piece of purple card. I've chosen dark purple so that it really shows the design very, very well. I'll pop this together, and obviously I've got that die held together now, so if you want to use it a few times, you've got essentially the die stuck in one place. That is going to go beautifully on the front panel of the card. And again, I'm just going to use the glue, the wet glue, to give me that time to manoeuvre it. Then to decorate the inside a little bit further, what I have got is one of the other dies from this collection, which I love, and it's the beautiful grasses. Now what I've done is I've die cut this, and then again just coloured them a little bit with the sparkle pens. So just a little bit of colouring, and I have put it so that it's propped up onto a base piece of card, so that when we have the double-sided tape, then I've intended that to sit proud at the front of the card, just like this. It just gives it that little bit more dimension. And then just to finish it off, what I have got are just a few little sentiments again from the stamp set. So we've got the dream, and then on the inside, if you can see, I've just used a few of the little flowers and the leaves, which again come in the die set. So I've just die cut these, just die cut them and coloured them with the same shades that we've used for the actual butterfly itself. And then a few of these little leaves will have just sticking proud a little bit. So that's a few different ways you can use that beautiful pop-out die of the butterfly, either as a stamp design, or don't forget you have got the option if you wanted to do it with the die cut pop forward as well. So just a couple of different ways you can get the most out of that set.